Hi, welcome to the channel. My name is Ayako, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about Doctor Who, and the new episodes that just came out this weekend, which are episodes 1 and 2 of Series 14 / Season 1. Our first episode is Space Babies. This starts basically right after the Christmas special has ended. I really like this first scene in the TARDIS. It really goes in quickly and delivers exposition about the characters, about the Doctor, and just about the show in general, probably to appeal to potential new audiences coming in. I really like the way the dialogue flows. It doesn't feel very out of place or anything, and it also provides a little bit more fleshing out of Ruby and the Doctor's dynamic. And then we go straight into their first landing, and their online prehistoric Earth. And there's the kind of butterfly effect joke. Personally, I'm not really sure if it's a joke or if it's just another little thing of reinforcing that this series is going to be a bit more fantastical because of how the Doctor really reacts to this happening, as if it's not something that he expected. I don't know if that's just, for the sake of a joke, or if it's a thing, But we go into that, from that to, a random location. Basically, the Doctor gives Ruby the choice to just pop out a number, and that's where they go. So, we end up in the future, on a faraway planet, on a space station. And this first scene, when they get out of the TARDIS, and before they go up to the nursing floor, that's what I'll call it. I don't know about this scene. It doesn't flow as well as the previous scene, so that might just be it, but I feel like the dialogue's a little bit off, or just the timing of it is a little bit off. I don't know. And then we go into this birthing chamber, where the babies are being kept pre-birth. I really like that this moment of characterization for the Doctor, where he's confused by why he's running away from the monster in the bogeyman in the corridors. And I really like that. And then we get to things in this scene that I don't really like, which is really kind of retreading a lot of the things that was done in The End of the World in the first series of New Who. I feel like those things could have been done differently, just to make it less obvious that, that's what it was pulling from, less in your face. But I do understand that, exposition has to be delivered, and these things have to be established, but I wish it was done a different way. But other than that, I really like the set, I really like the effects in this scene, particularly the screen stuff, and how that's done in terms of both, the physical actions of the actors, and as well as the look of the effects. And then, of course, we go into meeting the babies, and you're immediately noticing that there's something strange about them because they're talking, and babies aren't supposed to talk like that. Personally, I feel like the animation for the children talking is a little bit uncanny, but it doesn't bother me that much. we get introduced to the setting and the other babies and what's kind of been going on. One thing that I really like in this first scene, is the way that we see things being operated, and that there's put thought into the fact that, as babies, they wouldn't be able to control things in the way that an adult with an adult body would. And yeah, I really like that there's put some thought into that. And then after, it's kind of been established that, the Doctor and Ruby aren't the parents, and that they know that, and they start, asking about the ship and going through things. I really like the kind of conversations that, they have with the children. They're really well done, they're really well written, and yeah, I just really like that it really lands the kind of emotion that we should feel here, and it's just done really well, especially the conversation that the Doctor has with Poppy. And yeah, I like the through line of the series, as well as this episode, trying to connect storylines with the Doctor now, knowing that he's an orphan and things like that. I think that's really interesting. And then we get introduced to Nanny, or Jocelyn. Personally, I was really surprised that there was still an adult on the ship. I just assumed that Nanny was, a software or an educational program. But yeah, and then we get more explanation as to what actually happened here and why the adults are no longer there. And then we get more, information about the boogeyman, or, not really that much more information, but again, how long it's been there and generally what's going on in the situation. And yeah, there's not much to say about this scene, to be honest. And then we go downstairs because one of the children have decided that they're going to, fight Boogeyman and be brave. And yeah, we go through the sequence of finding this child and then getting back up. Again, there's not really much to be said about this sequence, to be honest. I don't really love it or hate it, it's just kind of there. And then Ruby and the Doctor go on and try to figure out what's going on with the Bugman, how it came to be in this place. And yeah, I think that the idea of the educational program going wrong and then constructing a kind of story out of this place is really interesting, and it goes back into the theme of this series seemingly being more fantastical themed, and focusing more on the fantasy side of Doctor Who rather than the sci-fi side. I find it really interesting. And then they end up finding out that, the Bogeyman is kind of one of the children itself. And yeah, I just really like the interactions between the Doctor and Ruby here. And yeah, I like that we get more characterization for the both of them and kind of more get an impression of how they would act in different scenarios. Whereas in the Church of Ruby Road, I feel like particularly Ruby is very reactive. But yeah, and then they get chased by the Bogeyman, and Jocelyn guides them through, and then she tries to kill the Bogeyman, which, the Doctor is obviously not for. But I don't know how I feel about this scene and how it's executed. I feel like the flashbacks really hamper this scene. Really, they don't do this scene any good, and I really wish that this scene didn't have those flashbacks, because I feel like they're drawing away from the emotional impact of the scene. Other than that, I like the idea. I like the Doctor throwing himself into the airlock, even though he is very clearly afraid. I really like that. I just really like this new character for the Doctor. I like that he's generally just more open And, while previous doctors and their emotional unavailability has provided for, like, a lot of good angst, generally, it's refreshing to see a doctor that is so open about his feelings, about his emotions, and just, generally just more fun. And not just, like, sad all the time. I do feel like, again, this airlock scene, I feel like, Jocelyn doesn't really... I don't feel like she really... I feel like she gets off too easy. Like, I feel like they just brush over it, like, oh yeah, she tried to kill this person, and then they don't, like, explore that in any way. I don't know. But then again, she's a side character. It doesn't have to be there. But I would have liked it if it was. And then, after sending the babies on their way to a new destination, they go out back to the TARDIS. I really like this scene, though I feel like the dialogue's a bit awkward. And then we have the scene in the TARDIS where the doctor tells her that she can't go back and see her mom on the day she was born, just to be sure that nothing really happens to her existence. Again, paradox stuff. I really like that Ruby's response is then to say that they are going to see her mom on Christmas, but not her birth mom, her proper mom. And yeah, I really like that scene. I really like the scene when they come back to Carla with the TARDIS. And yeah, that's the end of the episode. Then when we get into the next episode, we have a 6-month time skip. It's a 6-month-ish. It seems to be around the end of June, beginning of July, from what I can interpret from dialogue. And then we have episode 2, The Devil's Chord. First thing that I really like about this episode is the pre-credit scene. It flows very well, the dialogue's fun, the acting is fun, when Maestro comes in, it's just very, very fun, in the same kind of way that the Toymaker was very fun. And we, bring in quite a lot of things from the giggle in this episode. And I like that, despite that special fully being able to be a one-time thing, they decided to bring it into the series and actually do something with it. And yeah, I just really like everything about the sequence, particularly the way that Maestro brings in the title sequence with her playing on the piano. Yeah. And then, of course, our next scene is Ruby and the Doctor in the TARDIS deciding where they want to go. I like this very casual mention of Carla having had a girlfriend in the past. I just really like that this series is, again, very casually queer. For the first time in a while. I feel like it wasn't like this during Moffat or during Chibnall's era. It was very much, when queer representation happened, it was a thing. It wasn't just like casually spread out throughout episodes. But I really like the way that Russell T Davies is going about it, personally. And then we go to 1963, and I like that Ruby insists on them changing clothes, because I feel like that hasn't really been a concern for a lot of companions in general. And I like that makes her a little bit unique, makes her stand out a bit. Then, after changing their clothes, they exit the TARDIS and they go to what is to be Abbey Road Studios. I really like these initial scenes. They're really funny and they do a good job of introducing what is the main mystery of this episode. And yeah, I really like that musically they went through real effort to make particularly bad songs that, anyone, even people who don't have a musical background, could tell were bad. And yeah, then after going around a bit in different studios and seeing if it's not just the Beatles, the Doctor and Ruby go and talk to Paul McCartney and John Lennon to find out what's really been going on here. Because, you know, they obviously know that the 60s aren't supposed to be like this. And yeah, the exposition here is delivered very well. It doesn't feel out of place. It flows very smoothly, and this conversation also incorporates more of the emotional through line of the episode. I like that it shows that even though the societal standard, I guess, of this new society is that music really isn't worth anything, I like that the characters that we talk to clearly sense that something is wrong, that things were supposed to be different, or that they could be different. And yeah, I like that when Paul really starts singing, it's that the people around them seem like they're in a trance. And then, of course, Maestro interferes. And I really like the scene. The emotional beats hit. And yeah. And then we go on to Ruby and the Doctor playing the piano on the rooftop. I also really like the scene. I really like the conversation that they have on the rooftop. Kind of the Doctor mentioning that he's to live in this time and mentioning Susan. It's, you know, a continuation of this through line of the Doctor's new personality and him being more open about things like that, about his past. And yeah, I really like this conversation. Again, it's really refreshing to see this side of him. And yeah, and then of course I really also like the next kind of scene where they're being chased by Maestro. I like the idea of the sonic being able to cancel out sound. I really like the idea of Maestro using their tuning fork to see vibrations and therefore reintroduce sound into the world. I think it's a really neat idea. And then of course we have the scene, part of the scene after Maestro leaves. I like that the Doctor is scared, because, you know, he should be scared. This is very much new territory for him. It's something that he doesn't know anything about, and he can't really make it right again because he doesn't know how. And yeah, and then I like the scene where they go back to current time, and, you know, I really like this scene. It hits emotionally, it does everything that it needs to do to be effective, basically. I also really like the, immediate shift to another place, kind of, when Maestro shows up. I like that they have the power to just switch the scene like that. I think it's really cool. And then, of course, their ability in that scene to, you know, kind of control the TARDIS because, you know, it's driven by sound. And I really like that. And this kind of idea that all sound is music. And yeah, I assume that we're likely going to see more of the Toymakers Legions eventually. And I feel like this is a really fun introduction to it. And also a great way to remind the audience of that idea, considering that, you know, it's been a while since the Giggle aired. And yeah, I just really like the scene. I really like the dialogue. Everything flows really well. Like I've been saying this entire time. It's just a really well done episode, I think. And then we go back to the 60s. I really like the moment in the TARDIS right after they've landed where the Doctor apologizes to the TARDIS. I really like that, you know, we're again seeing the TARDIS as this living thing, because that hasn't really been emphasized or whatever in the first episode. So I like it that we have these little scenes that aren't really noticeable unless you're looking for it, but I really like that moment. And then we're back in the 60s and they go back into Abbey Road Studios, and the Doctor sits down to try and find whatever chord, whatever thing that could banish Maestro from the world. And, you know, Ruby rightfully points out that he's not a musical genius of any kind. This is going to take more time than they have. And then Ruby gets dragged into the orchestra recording room, the big one. And yeah, this music battle scene that they have after all of the Ruby stuff. I don't really know if I like it. I feel like it's not as effective as it could have been. I feel like maybe it could have been a little bit grander, or I don't know, it probably would have been more effective if, you know, the actors could actually play the instruments. I guess I like most of this scene. I just don't particularly like the music battle part of it. And you know, I like that Maestro goes after Ruby because, you know, she's, as they say, she's the only person left in the world who has music in her heart, which I don't know if Maestro is right about that. I feel like the people still have music in their hearts. It's just that, you know, they don't have the opportunity to remember that they do. Because we see throughout the episode that Maestro goes through tremendous efforts to maintain the status quo that they've established. And that the moment just one person introduces music into the world, then everyone else follows. So I don't know how right Maestro is in the scene. And then we have, of course, we have Paul McCartney and John Lennon finding the final note to the banishment chord. And this scene, I feel like it's less, you know, I really like it. I think that a lot of people feel like it's very much, oh, these people are musical geniuses or whatever. But I don't know if that's what the scene is really saying. I feel like it's, the way I think of it is more of a trace of the world that should have been, you know. It's perhaps their potential selves, not their current selves, but the ones that would have been, with the experiences and the knowledge of music that they would have had Maestro not stolen music, that is kind of doing this action through them at this point in the episode. But I don't know. I really liked it, but I think that there's some people that have a problem with it. Yeah, and then there's the dance number at the end. I don't really feel like the scene was necessary. It feels very tacked on. And I think we could have used those minutes on something else. Maybe like a final ending scene with the Beatles recording something or something. I don't know. I mean, like, I know that they can't have them, you know, record an actual Beatles song because, you know, licensing and all that. But yeah, I just feel like this scene, the dance number scene, it's just not necessary, you know? And it doesn't add anything to the episode, and it feels kind of tacked on. But yeah, those are my, like, overall thoughts of the episodes. I enjoyed them quite a lot, though I, of course, enjoyed The Devil's Chord more than I enjoyed Space Babies. But yeah, next week is Boom, written by Stephen Moffat. We'll see how that goes. I don't really have any crazy expectations, to be honest. I'm just trying to enjoy the series. And yeah, as for me, I think I'm going to review it. We'll see how I feel on the day. But yeah, this is, as I said at the beginning, I think, a really kind of impulsive thing. So, I don't know if I'm going to continue doing it, or if I'm going to continue doing anything on this channel. But I do know that it's not going to be very consistent. So, like, don't expect anything, really. But yeah, that was everything for me, and yeah, bye.